Today's sponsor of the Mountain the Mind podcast is Blossom Creations. Homemade cards, perfect for any occasion, made to order. All links for Blossom Creations Instagram is in the links down below.
Hello and welcome to the Mountain the Mind podcast. I'm your host Joe, joined as always by Mr. Darren McCann.
Thank you.
And our guest for today is UFC Middleweight Eryk.
What's going on, fellas?
I suppose the best place to start, Eryk, will be the start. So where did your journey to the UFC begin?
I've been an athlete my whole life. Got done playing college ball, and the professional thing didn't work out for me, so I started doing the 9 to 5 working, and just, sitting at a desk in an office. It's not for me, So I was just, wanted a place to really just looking to blow off some steam and, work out, train a little bit, maybe compete. So I started off with jiu-jitsu and then just kind of naturally evolved into MMA.
Now, one thing I've always been curious of is you have probably the most easily recognizable nicknames in MMA. So where did your boy come from?
I really don't know, man. It's just the way I talk, especially like a while back, I just help a boy out, let your boy borrow $5, I just, kept, saying your boy. And then, it just kind of stuck. And that's what people started calling me at the gym. And I was like, man, that probably sounds kind of catchy, actually. So I just, that'd be my fight name.
Yeah, everyone knows it now.
I have to say, I was very, very surprised by our last performance against Darren Stewart. Like, we were doing a review on the card beforehand, and I was thinking to myself, he's going to come out. I was expecting real grapple heavy approach, using your judo, but seeing the hands go, I was like, fuck me. I was so surprised. You even seen with Darren Stewart and that Kevin Holland fight, Darren Stewart has hands and he could throw them. I was just so surprised.
Yeah,
where did that come from?
I switched camps. I've been training over at Fight Ready, and man, just Eddie Chaw and Santino DeFranco came up with an awesome game plan, and we drilled a lot. A new strength and conditioning routine, and man, to be honest, it was the easiest weight cut I've ever had. And I just, I felt great, and I don't know. It's just, we really focused on range and distance and speed and things like that. And I think that's the first fight I've actually used like my athleticism to its fullest potential. And so, Eddie Chaw's the man, Henry Cejudo, is an Olympic wrestler, and like his first 10 fights, he won by knockout. And he had several knockouts and, didn't really have to rely on his wrestling. And I think it's because Eddie Chaw,
we seen
that with range and distance game.
We seen that with Cejudo, didn't we? Where he was very grapple heavy, and then once he moved out to Scottsdale, it was the karate stance, and as we know, Cejudo can throw hands as well.
Mm-hmm.
What happened? I know we've had a lot of controversial decisions with knees in the past few weeks. Where did that come out of?
Man, I don't know. I can't speak for anybody else or anybody else's situation or what was going through anybody else's mind. But for me in particular, the fight was almost over, and man, you're trying to get it over with, and you just get a little overzealous, and man, you got a guy on the ropes, and man, you're just not really thinking, just more reacting. And, I think that for me was a problem. And he was kind of up, down, and man, he just wasn't up when I threw that knee. So, it is what it is, and yeah.
There was definitely a couple of points in the fight, even before the knee, where it looked like the fight was done. In my opinion, it looked like it could have been stopped. There was a few seconds beforehand, it looked like he was out even.
Yeah, but Darren's tough, man. He can take it, he can give it, and yeah, so when you get a guy like that, maybe Herb Dean could have stopped it a little bit earlier. I don't know. I'm not really sure what's going through his head neither. But when you hear the ref tell the other guy to fight back, and fight's almost over with, you kind of want to throw everything but the kitchen sink at him, and it just so happened that the kitchen sink was illegal. So we'll see what happens if we run it back. We'll see what's up.
Would you like to run it back with him soon, or do you think you have bigger things coming soon?
I mean, that's really up to their camp. I really don't turn down fights, and outside of injury, never say no. So, we'll see what happens.
Speaking of upcoming fights, we've seen on Instagram there earlier on, you announced that you had fight news coming soon. Is there any chance of a sneak preview of what that might be, or is that to come later?
Can't tell you just yet, but hopefully in the next week or so. Like, the UFC likes to be the ones to announce these fights, so we'll let them do their thing so that I don't get in trouble, and then so hopefully in the next week or two they'll announce it. So we'll see what's up.
I'll have to keep an eye out for that one. So it looks like you'll be going back into another fight camp very soon. What does a normal week look for you while you're in a fight camp?
Well, this past fight camp was tremendously different than my previous fight camps. I was really more focused on like cutting weight and making weight, and just really killing myself trying to get there. I was running like 30-35 miles a week trying to cut mass and make the weight, but they do it totally different at Fight Ready. They tell me don't run. I probably ran maybe 30 miles total the whole fight camp. And that's just because, someday on Sundays when I don't got nothing to do, I get a little stir crazy. So I go for a little jog. So, I actually train less, during fight camp. When I first got there, I was like, hey guys, I don't know if we're doing this right, man. I don't think I'm training enough. I'm not training hard enough. But these guys, they've done it. They've coached in championship fights. They've won championship fights, and they've had, cornered, thousands of fights. So they really knew what they were doing, and I just kind of gave up the reins and trusted the process, their process. And man, you see the evolution, you see the work, and just that one round that Darren and I had. So, I'll wrestle, grapple in the morning, do strength and conditioning right after. Go home, do some recovery stuff, cryotherapy, things like that. And then come back in the afternoon and do some mitt work or, some touch sparring or something. And also like the intensity of each workout varies, depending on what the next workout is or, what the next day has. If it's sparring, I don't go as hard during the previous day. And man, they just have it mapped up, man. All I really have to do is show up, put in the work and trust their process. And, this will be my second fight camp with them. So I'm just, you saw the progression in just 9 weeks with them. So I can't wait to see what I'm going to look like after another, fight camp.
It's anything to go by the Darren Stewart fight. You'll be a different animal coming out in the next one. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm really excited for it. I really thought that I had like maximized my potential because I've been to so many camps, trained with so many people, partners and coaches and stuff. But man, they really took me to the next level, and I believe that they can take me to levels even beyond that.
I can think about my first time hearing about you was probably the Leo Machida fight. I'm just wondering, as talking about preparation, how do you prepare for a man like a legend like Leo Machida? How does a camp look if you're going in to fight Machida?
I trained a little bit with Stephen Wonderboy Thompson because they have like that similar karate, style. I just, I thought that Wonderboy was, younger, much better and faster than Machida was. And man, I try to work with like specialists like that. And As far as fighting Brazil's probably one of the most hostile environments to fight. Man, you got people yelling, you're gonna die on the way to the cage and all that good stuff. So, for me, it was great. I think that's how fights should be. Anytime an American fights a foreigner in America, that foreigner shouldn't feel comfortable in the arena. But just growing up playing sports and traveling to other stadiums and having that experience in my back pocket really helped, I think, for that fight and the Thiago Santos fight.
Must be quite daunting fighting in Brazil. We know what the Brazilian fans are, as you said, what they're like, the most hostile fans. No, even if you win, like we seen with remember the Darren Till fight, they were booing him and booing him and booing him until he came on the mic and hit them with a bit of Scouser gaze, and just it's crazy.
The cool thing about the Brazilian fans is, man, they don't really hate you, man. They want to see a fight, and so. Win or lose, if you go out there and put on a show, man, they love you. And I'm pretty sure Darren Till even lived in Brazil for a while, and people, the UFC employees have, told me that, man, because my wife is Brazilian, so I speak a little bit of Portuguese, but they were really surprised at how well that he speaks Portuguese, and I think. Has a culture. Whenever somebody comes to your culture, learns your language, lives in your country, takes on your customs and whatnot, they love you even more. So I'm sure that they were talking shit to him before the fight, but low key, they were probably Darren Till fans, before he even fought.
You just talking about Darren Till there. It's come out in the past. I think yesterday it came out that he broke his collarbone and he won't be fighting Marvin Vettori. As a fighter as well, any insight of how that must feel to have to pull out of a huge fight?
Yeah, dude, that sucks. That's your money. I don't think Till's fought in a while. And especially when you have an injury going into a fight, man. There's all this build up. I don't know how he approaches the game on a mental level, but to go in there, have an opportunity against a top guy, a main event at that, and then it's not even that you want to pull out, an injury like that, you can't fight with a broken collarbone. If it breaks during the fight, that's one thing, but 2 or 3 weeks before the fight, you gotta stop training. There's a lot that goes into it, so it's just a real letdown mentally. And Marvin Vettori, he said he's not gonna wait. He's gonna, I think he's gonna fight
Kevin Holland.
Yeah, Kevin Holland now. So you just kind of realize that time moves on with or without you. So I'm sure that, it's a bit of a mental mind fuck to get that close to the fight and get injured. I'm not sure who he was training with or what he was doing to get injured, but man, in this game, accidents happen and crazy stuff like that happens. So, I mean, it is what it is, but man, it's going to take a while, especially if, let's just say that Kevin Holland goes out there and wins, man, it's going to be even more of a, let down for Till to it could have been him, somebody filled his spot and went and took what he could have had. So, that hurts.
Well, at least Kevin Holland's got a second chance now, after the Brunson fight. Everyone wasn't so high on him, but now he has a second chance to redeem himself. And it's probably a better stylistic matchup for himself, Vettori.
Man, I think that Vettori is, probably not the best matchup for Kevin Holland, because he's going to move forward and he's going to wrestle. He's going to grapple. He's going to put him down. And he's going to try and hurt Kevin Holland. When Derek Brunson took Holland down, he really didn't do much from the top. I think that Marvin Vettori is going to go out there and try and finish him. And you see the way that Marvin fights, man. He fights with a chip on his shoulder, like he's trying to hurt somebody. So
he's a dog.
I think that he still takes that same mental approach and game plan to the Kevin Holland fight. Because I can't imagine that. I think the path of least resistance for both guys is to wrestle them, take them down, hold them down, beat them up from the top. So I don't think that Kevin Holland's quite as big and as strong, and he doesn't seem to do much when he's on the bottom. The outside of Jacare, which is you see that happen. I can only think of one other fight off the top of my head where a guy knocked the other guy out from their guard. and the other one being Nico Price. So it doesn't happen often. So, when you get a guy down, it's like a guy like that. It's like, okay, now I can pick and choose my shots. I don't have to waste a lot of energy trying to hold him down. So maybe Kevin Holland fixes that. And, I don't know how much progress, how much you can fix and get a hole like that in your game in just a few weeks. But man, we know they both show up to fight, and it should be a good one.
Definitely be one hell of a scrap. You were talking about obviously the mental side of fighting. How do you prepare personally for a fight? Say that last 5 minutes before you do your walkout. What's going through your head?
Man, nothing really. I try to shut everything off. I know this is what I love to do, and there's not very many things that I'd rather be doing. So, for me, like all the hard part, all the bullshit, all the weight cutting, the dieting and stuff is over with, and now it's the time to, go out there, have fun, and express yourself, if you will. So, for this last fight, man, I was completely numb. Like I wasn't nervous. I didn't feel anything. Like mentally, sometimes there can be like a little anxiety, you get a little nervous that you're finna go out there and fight. But man, it honestly and truly felt like I was heading into a sparring match. Like I didn't feel anything. There was like no, inner conversation with myself. Like I didn't have to hype myself up. I was just there in the moment, in the now, and ready to go out there and fight. And I think maybe a little too calm. I know my coaches and stuff were a little nervous at my demeanor before the fight, but man, it wasn't an act or anything. It's just, where I was mentally. I just knew that I was going to go out there and win that fight.
It sounds like since you switched gyms, you've turned into a completely different animal. Do you think this is the time for you? Do you think you're taking a step up to be a contender now, do you reckon?
Yeah, several opportunities to fight top 15 guys. I fought Machida when he was number 12. Elias Theodoro, I think he may have been 15. And they were just like little holes in my game. Even Jocko may have been ranked. I'm not really sure, but man, they're just little holes in my games that the veterans that I fought were exposing, like especially the guys who move a lot. All three of those guys, they do a lot of moving and fighting in space and whatnot. And I think now that, the range and distance game, I think is in my favor. So I think that if I were to fight those guys now, as opposed to then, I finish all three of those guys.
When we were doing some research for the fight, we took a little observation. We were looking through our record. We said we were only saying to each other, he hasn't had one easy fight inside the UFC. Every single fight you fought is an absolute animal. Every single one was down to fight. And we were watching the Thiago Santos fight, and we were saying, fuck me, he must have some heart. Thiago Santos is dangerous, very, very dangerous. We were saying, he's still in there, still holding in all that damage he landed in the second round. You are still ready to fight in the third. And then, of course, freak accident happened. But
yeah, I think that toughness is a choice, Some people man, it's just like anything. Some guys can be naturally fast, some guys can be, naturally strong. I think that toughness is a bit of it is natural and maybe the way that you were brought up and whatnot, but man, it's a choice. I knew I was getting into a fight against, a killer, and for me, I just like challenges and whatnot. And, that was a pretty big challenge. And man, I had my moments in the fight, man. I had his back in the third round. That's probably my favorite fight that I've had in the UFC, to be honest. Even though I didn't win, it was the fight the way that I like to fight. He didn't back up. I didn't back up. He wasn't running and dancing, and we were both throwing heavy leather. So, it was, even though in a loss, it was still fun for me.
And you got the 50K at the end of it. Must have made it a lot sweeter.
Man, it always hurts a little bit less whenever you get a bonus.
See, you've had, I think it was 2 performance of the night bonuses in the UFC.
3.
3? Sorry,
Yeah. Tim Williams, Vinicius, Moreira, and excuse me, and Thiago.
Oh yeah, sorry, my bad. Like that must make everything.
If I'm being honest, man, I'd rather take those knockout of the nights or performance of the nights rather than those fight of the nights. Cause, man, those fight of the nights, even though you got your 50K, man, you really feel those come Sunday morning.
Yeah, I can only imagine like just how bad is that next day after the fight, because obviously once you as soon as it happens you're full of adrenaline, but how bad is it once the adrenaline wears off?
I mean, it really just depends how the fight goes. Like Thiago, man, I had a concussion. They were trying to tell me I had to go to the hospital, and I was kind of like, resisting. And I was like, man, I ain't going to the hospital. And then I started throwing up and stuff, and I was like, yeah, I think I got a concussion, so I should probably go and do that. At the Roundtree, my leg was sore as shit. I fought on a Saturday in Atlanta and tried to take the kids and the wife to the aquarium on Sunday. And man, that shit lasted probably an hour. After about an hour of walking around, I told him, I was like, man, we got to go, man. I can't do this, man. I got to sit down somewhere. And Theodoro, I broke my hand in the middle of the fight. Man, these fights, they can take a toll, but, pain is temporary. And, to be honest, when you're fighting, man, I really don't feel much, not a whole lot of pain, not a whole lot of anything, So, like you said, and I'd be so amped up after a fight that I really don't even sleep until Monday morning, or Sunday evening. And, that's about the time when you start to feel everything, every nick, every injury, every everything, even every paper cut, every scrape from the cage, every you just feel everything.
You were saying there you broke your hand against Theodore. Do you notice that as soon as it happens, or does that come on the Monday? Something as big as that?
Nah, I knew that I had definitely did something to it after I landed the punch. I don't think I'd ever broken a bone before that. And but I, like I said, I really don't feel much. And so, I kept, throwing it. I don't think it really affected the fight too much. But after the fight, I think we were like the last fight on the prelims. So, man, I went, took a shower, and then snuck up in the stands and sat down with the family. And I literally, I broke this little metacarpal right there. You can see the scar. And when I had my hand sideways and I'd wiggle my ring finger, like I could see that bone moving up and down with when I would move my finger. And over the course of the night, like I literally watched my hand swell up. It looked like Hellboy, like it was just super fat. And but man, my son fell asleep during the fight, so I picked him up, carried him out. Like I said, I really didn't. Clearly it was broken. Like no one had to tell me it was broken. I could see that it was broken. Just watch how fast it swelled up. But still really didn't feel any pain until after surgery. After surgery, they put some screws in it, and man, that's when it really started to hurt. Was after surgery, and they take a drill gun and drill the screws, into the bone and put a plate on it and stuff. So that's when it started to hurt.
Do you think your NFL career and your college career helped in situations like that?
Yeah, because you spend your whole, especially in college, they really try to like break you mentally and build you back up. At least Nick Saban does, anyways. And so they put you in these crazy situations that and you get in these situations. Maybe you're down in a game in the fourth quarter, and have to do what you got to do to get a win and stuff. So, and then playing in front of large crowds and stuff, and competing with the best athletes of the highest caliber. I think I don't think it definitely did any bad to get me prepared for the UFC.
And what made you take the move from NFL to MMA? Was it a gradual thing, or did you just wake up one day and was like, you know what, I want to go different?
Um, to be honest, I think that's just the course that my life took. I was like I said, I didn't make it in the NFL. Like, I got cut, and now I played a year of arena football, and man, like, I was getting in fights every weekend. I was just found myself being mad all the time, walking around like my fist clenched up. And I'm not an angry person, man. I'm super chill and just cool breeze, just whatever, nothing really bothers me. But like, I started noticing like behavioral changes in myself, and I just felt like, this isn't me. That I'm not an angry person. I'm not a mad person. It's just life circumstance that's got me like this. So maybe I just need to like exercise, feel those endorphins again, and maybe compete in some jujitsu. And then I was like, man, maybe I want to try boxing. And then, because I always wanted to box when I was a kid, but my mom said she didn't want me to get brain damage. She said I couldn't box, but then I could, go play football and turn my body into a projectile. So it's weird. And then, man, I sparred one time and got beat up, and I just instantly fell in love with MMA, and I knew that that's what I'd want to do. And man, for like the next 4 years, I had to work a 9 to 5, and train early in the morning, work all day, then come back and train again at night, and just really fell in love with the struggle and the process of training and stuff, and fighting on the weekends and whatnot. So, man, I think fighting really came naturally to me, and it's something that to be honest, probably should have been doing instead of football. It's because I enjoy it so much more. I don't think I ever loved football as much as I love training and competing in MMA. So, yeah, I should have been doing it a lot sooner.
When I was doing some research for this podcast, looking into, seeing a picture of you, I think when you were in college, you must have been about 240, 250. How did the transition from being that heavy and trying to turn it into a middleweight frame or light heavyweight frame? How does that work?
Yeah, I just started training, and just like the natural, like, just the training like completely transformed my body. I was like really big and bulky from playing football and lifting super heavy weights and stuff, and then just training. My body burnt off what it didn't need, and when I first started, I was like 250, and then man, even then I was like, man, I'm gonna fight at 205 my whole career, and then people were like, man, you should really think about fighting at 85, and I was like, hell no. And then, man, I saw John Jones and Daniel Cormier fight for the first time, their first fight. And I was like, I was there live. My buddy Marcus Brimage, who was training at the same gym, fought Cody Garbrandt that night. And I saw the size of those two, and I was like, yeah, it's middleweight for me, So then outside of just working out, like, I had to figure out like the diet and the nutrition part that, even up until my last fight, I was still figuring out. So, yeah, you go fight, giants like Alexander Rakic, and these guys at 205, or you can go fight guys that are more your size at middleweight. So naturally, middleweight was the way to go.
Did you have to cut weight to get to 205, or were you naturally around the 205 mark when you fought light heavyweight?
Nah, I was having to cut the 205 because I eat like a child. I eat burgers, drink beer, eat pizza, candy, nothing really green except for the lettuce that comes on a burger. So when I met my wife, she was like, man, you're not doing this right. So I was that guy who'd be like 215 on Sunday, fighting on Saturday, and would try and cut 30 pounds in a week, really just running and not eating, and then wonder why I only have 3 minutes of cardio in a fight. That's when I ate, and really just completely changed food groups, and I had no idea what a micro and a macro nutrient is, and when to eat carbs, when to cut carbs, when to do this, when to do that. And man, she's really put me on game, and weight cuts got a lot easier after that.
Sorry, my connection went there a minute ago. I missed half of what you were saying there. Sorry about that. But is weight cutting something you get used to over time, or is it always something you're going to hate as a fighter? Because I can't imagine it ever being in any way easy.
Man, up until this last fight, man, I would dread that. I would dread it. I would hate it. And it just sucked to sit in the sauna, get in the tub, sit in the sauna, get in the tub, lay down. So man, it was hell to make it. But man, and then I could tell I was getting close to weight, because then I'd be able to feel my hip bones through my butt as I'm sitting in the tub, and then my lips would literally shrink, and I couldn't put my teeth away. It's like I was smiling the whole time, but I wasn't, because I was angry that I was cutting weight. But this time I didn't get any of that. It probably took me, like 3 hours total to cut weight, and it's the easiest weight cut I ever had. Pace that I fought at in that first round, I could have fought for 5 rounds. I felt like so. Usually people say the older you get, the harder these weight cuts get, but for me, I think it's quite the opposite.
But we've seen it, as you said, you felt like you could go 5 rounds. We've even seen in the Darren Stewart fight, you probably spent more time training than you did thinking about cutting weight, and that was probably just that made the difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially the closer the fight gets, that's when you're fine tuning everything and dotting the I's and crossing the T's. But in the back of your head, you're thinking about this weight cut, or maybe you didn't get to eat before you went to training, so you're not training. So you're not like physically at 100%, but also not mentally 100%. So you're just kind of going through the motions, and yeah. So it's not good to feel like that and be like that. But like I said, now I think that I have the formula. Like I said, I hardly ran at all. I didn't starve myself. I didn't do any of these things that I've done in the past to make middleweight.
You work with a nutrition or a nutritionist by any chance?
No, I don't have a nutritionist. I pretty much just I have like a meal prep company called Eat to Evolve, and my wife, she orders the food, has it sent to me, and then tells me what to eat, when to eat it, and and Eddie Shaw, he really put me on like the calorie intake to calorie expenditure. I started wearing a heart monitor that would tell me how many calories I was burning per workout, so I knew how much I could eat. And man, I'm telling you, I just followed the process and did what everybody told me to do. And man, I've done that in the past and wasn't getting good advice from people, but these guys really know what they're doing, so it's easy to trust. And it's also probably the most like aesthetically pleasing that I've ever looked as well. So man, just every facet of this fight, I felt my best.
Obviously, you do all that work to make 185, but how heavy do you reckon you'd walk in to the cage at? Because I assume there's a lot of enjoying yourself between weighing and fighting.
Yeah, but man, I really don't like pig out like that. After the fight, I'll go drink beers and eat pizza and stuff. But man, it's really like chicken and rice and vegetables and fruit, like like sugary fruits like apples, raisins, things just to get all that stuff back up. So I'm probably one of the bigger middleweights. I would say anywhere from probably about 215. Going back into the cage, I think.
That is mad. Do you reckon that gives you an advantage being, say a very big middleweight as opposed to some of the smaller ones that could make welterweight?
I don't know. They're all faster than me. And if I had to pick one attribute, speed would be the attribute that I had over everybody because, speed kills. So I'm not really sure how much of an advantage being bigger is, He's certainly stronger for sure, but that's kind of been my kryptonite over my career is the smaller, faster guys. So I'm not really sure how much of an advantage it is for me.
And there's loads of those sprinkled around the 185 division. Like a lot of the 185 top 10 is kind of smaller middleweights. Yeah, like Sierra Adesanya, who doesn't even walk in at 185.
Yeah, Adesanya's probably like probably 205. Walks around at 205 or. I can't even think. Gastelum used to be at 170. Darren Till used to be at welterweight. Like I said, speed kills. I'm not sure how big Brunson is. But yeah, like I said, speed kills. And if there's any attribute that I could have over all my opponents, it would be speed if I could pick.
Do you think you're going to stay at welterweight now for the foreseeable future, or can you see another move up to light heavyweight in?
I'll fight at 205. I'll fight at middleweight. I'll do whatever. So, yeah, I'll fight. Yeah, it's cool with me. Middleweight, but light heavyweight, man, it's got to be the right, right matchup. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to fight. Not that I wouldn't fight, but man, I'm not really looking to fight like those guys who are 6'4", 6'5", 240, like Oven St. Preux. That's a big dude. You know what I mean? That guy. There's no way that guy's anywhere close to 205 when he gets into the octagon the next day. So, it's whatever. Maybe they'll just ask him to pay me more to fight a guy like that.
We've seen John Jones gone up now to heavyweight. What's your thoughts on Jones versus Ngannou?
Dude, I think that John Jones will be successful at any weight class that he competes in. I don't know if Dana White's really looking to pay him the $50 million that he's asking for, but man, if there's anybody who's worth it, I think that John Jones is the greatest, and he's still fighting right now. So I think it's a fight that everybody wants to see. I think that fight sells tickets, but man, I can't say that Derek Lewis and Francis Ngannou isn't the fight that more people are interested in at the moment. A guy who knocks everybody out, and then another guy who knocks everybody out and has the most knockouts in UFC history. So, and they're big guys. So I think that's the fight that the fans want to see more right now.
I think that would be an absolute Rocky moment if Derek Lewis became heavyweight champion of the world. I could just imagine. Be so funny.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and man, it's really incredible, man. If you listen to both those guys' stories, and Joe Rogan had them both on his podcast, and I listened to them both. Man, they both have phenomenal, stories. Especially in Ngannou. If you haven't listened to that one, you should definitely go listen to it, man. It's incredible.
Crazy story.
The stuff that he's been through and gone through, and where he's at now.
I've actually heard your name. There's a Joe Rogan clip with about 600,000 views on it with your name when he's talking to Khalil Roundtree. Khalil Roundtree was nothing but full of compliments for you, saying he's just so hard to fight, you're so tough.
Yeah, like I said, maybe toughness is an attribute. I don't know, but for me, it was a decision. When he dropped me like 4 times in the second round, and the lights were going off. It wasn't like, oh damn, that hurt and I fell. Nah, he was like flash knocking me out. But as soon as I hit the ground, I'd wake up again, and he would back up, and it's like, oh shit, we're still fighting. Okay, you got another chance. And I truly, up until the end of the fight, thought that I was going to have a Rocky moment. Like you see in all the Rocky movies, he gets his ass beat for, the whole fight and then comes back and wins. And even in the third round, I thought that I was building momentum and starting to, work my way back. But time wasn't on my side. It wasn't like a 10-round, boxing match. It was only 3 rounds. But I think the third round was my best round out of all of them. And, yeah, these are choices and decisions. I could have played hurt. I could have act like he knocked me out. I could have done a lot of things, but these things never crossed my mind. Okay, there's still time on the clock. Okay, there's still you're still conscious, you're still able to fight. All right, man, let's go. Knock this guy. Knock this guy out, and pick up a bonus and your win bonus, and we'll go lay down and assess the damage afterwards.
We expecting that when you were training and preparing for round 3? Because I remember the commentary team just thought it came out of nowhere with Khalil.
I mean, yeah, I knew that he had been training in Thailand. Him and I had, sparred before in the past. He did come out totally different and unrecognizable. However, I think that fight had more so to do with me, where I was at mentally, I guess, than anything else. Because, man, I've seen guys come out and they didn't look the same that they looked on film, and I was able to make adjustments and get wins. But I think the stars were aligned for Roundtree that night to go out there and put on a performance like that.
Something I always want to ask MMA fighters, especially in the UFC, and I suppose it's more for you after the Machida fight. What do you think of the judges in the UFC? Because obviously a lot of people said you beat Machida.
16-23.
Yeah, I don't know how they select these guys, how they pick these people to judge fights. I particularly think that former fighters should be the people judging fights. So there should be some kind of seminar or something that they attend. But you got like boxing judges or kickboxing judges trying to judge an MMA fight, and there's just more to MMA than the point scoring. It even says like control time, cage control, significant strikes, grappling. But if you're a boxing judge or referee like Tony Weeks, man, do you think that guy knows anything about a double leg takedown or submission attempts or anything like that? Of course not. And it's not really – well, yeah, I don't know, man. I think the commissions, they just need to have like because, the scores will be all over the place. One judge will score it 29-28, and another judge will score it 30-20, 30-27. Or, the scores are just like all over the place. So I don't know what they can do to remedy that situation other than, have people that have fought before and know what. But even then, like if you have, like Khabib may score a fight, like he may favor the wrestler a little bit because he's a wrestler, and that's just a random name and scenario. But I just think that there needs to be like an MMA commission, MMA judges rather than like an athletic commission. Yeah, it's kind of bullshit. Like I said, like a boxing referee, first of all, a boxing referee, he doesn't judge the fight anyways. You know what I mean? So he's not really getting experience, judging fights and stuff like that. So I think that these commissions can do a better job of having an MMA commission and not just, consolidating everything into one athletic commission. And then the states, even the rules vary from state to state. So, that's another thing that they need to fix.
We were just going back to the knee again. Like we see that as well with different athletic commissions have different rules on what's downed and what's not downed. Like, what's your thoughts on that? Do you think it should be one set rule of what's downed and what's not downed, or?
Yeah, like I said, each state is different. The referee does come back and tell you what a downed opponent is, and Herb Dean certainly did before our fight. So I'm not like casting blame or anything like that. It's definitely my fault that I threw that strike. But yeah, I just think that this is MMA, and why should it matter what state I'm in? Like different countries, okay, I get it. But from state to state here in America, like why is there a discrepancy or difference in rules?
Just to go back to the referees there, did you hear about PFL's decision for next season? They're using fan scoring from the Verdict MMA app.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I didn't.
I don't know how much they're going to use, but they signed a contract with the app company there for the start of this season, where each fan who uses the app gets to score how they've seen the fight, and apparently they're going to use it in the decision. or in some
Really?
way, anyways.
Oh man, that's interesting because if who's this? If Conor McGregor is fighting somebody and the other guy clearly won the round, but he's got very biased fan base, they're going to score the fight for McGregor anyways. Even though he really didn't win the round. So I think that's interesting, and I wonder how much it weighs on the actual outcome of the fight.
Yeah, there's definitely going to have to be room for some sort of bias in it, because people aren't going to want to see their favorite fighters lose.
Yeah, saying American fights a Brazilian, I guarantee you, regardless, the Americans are going to vote for the American, and the Brazilians are going to vote for the Brazilians or the Russians or whatever. Like there is, a little biased in the way like fans see fights sometimes. So that's why I think there needs to be more competent judges so that, these kind of things don't happen.
Yeah, I think it's always going to be something people are going to disagree on. The referees and the judges. There's always going to be. No one's ever going to be like, oh yeah, the judges are perfect, the referees are perfect.
I mean, of course not. And they're never going to be perfect. But how one judge sees the fight. 29-28. How two judges see the fight 29-28. And then another judge sees it 30-27. Or in my fight against Machida, one judge had him winning 4 rounds. Like, how is that even possible when I, almost knocked him out in 3 of the 5 rounds? So, it's weird how they score these fights.
Even after the Machida fight, 16 media outlets out of 23 had the fight to you. So that just shows the outside majority thought you won. It's just the judges that fucked up again.
And outside of the like the win or loss, like it is what it is. It's competition. Somebody wins or loses, but man, that shit cost me half my money. You know what I mean? So that's the shit that I'd be mad about. Like, okay, it's a competition. There's a winner, there's a loser, but man, you just cost me half my money. So it is what it is.
Something I'm definitely curious about. We had Sam Alvey on this podcast a few days ago, and he mentioned that there are some fighters who have to go into the fight hating the person they're fighting to get up that adrenaline. Are you one of those people, or can you just see it as the job?
Man, yeah, no, I don't hate anybody. I think there's only one person that I fought that I didn't like, and it was really because they talked a lot of shit on the internet. But then when they saw me face to face, they were asking how I was and did I have a safe flight in, and blah 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 blah. So I'm not really into fake people. You know what I'm saying? Whatever you say on the internet, like I don't forget that shit when I see you, face to face. And I'm that way. Whatever I say or do, that's who I am in real life too. So, yeah, I don't hate anybody. They're just trying to do to me what I'm trying to do to them. So, it's everybody has their own thing. Everybody has their own way of getting hyped up for a fight or doing what they have to do. So if someone has the, fun reason to hate somebody, and I'm a pretty likable guy, I think. So I don't know why anybody would hate me. But some people have been pretty pissed off whenever they fight me. So it is what it is.
Hate on the internet. What's your thoughts on Askren Paul?
I think it's clear as day that somebody's writing Jake Paul's comments and jokes, because he just doesn't have that quick wit that you see him with on the internet and in videos and stuff. And Ben Askren, he clearly is a product of a locker room. Locker room is the most hostile environment on earth. I don't care what sport it is that you play. Like, there's more shit talking going on in the locker room that, and when I played at Alabama, like, you had to come in there, with your guard up, because it only take one person and it could be like a snowball effect, So I think it's clear that Ben Askren has been in the locker room, and he's clearly a much wittier person than Jake Paul. So yeah, I really, really hope That's and the more that I see them interact with each other and see Jake Paul seems a little shook, a little nervous, a little scared. So, Ben Askren's been in there with, real killers, Robbie Lawler in particular, Douglas Lima, so I don't think that he's scared to get into a fight, especially with, I don't know how big the boxing gloves they're going to use are, but he may not have the best striking, but I think he's going to show up and do much better than people think. And Jake Paul's only had 2 fights and only throws overhand right, so I'm not really sure why everybody's acting like Jake Paul is such a threat with the hands. He knocked out Nate Robinson, who's 5'8". Jake Paul's like 6'1" and has like 20, 30 pounds on him. I don't know the little British fella that he fought the first time, but yeah, I don't watch
his little brother.
Yeah, so I have no idea who these people are. I know who Nate Robinson is, obviously, but I seriously doubt that the dude that he fought over in London or England or wherever, they're the same size. So, he's fighting much smaller people. So, I think that's kind of weak as well.
Like Deji wouldn't be the most amazing, but he wasn't really wasn't good at fighting really at all, and he still fucked Jake up a little bit. He landed some damage. He hurt Jake's nose. Yeah, that's why I see a lot of casuals talking about like, oh, Jake Paul, blah blah blah. He's like the reincarnation of Mike fucking Tyson. But nah, I think Ben Askren has heart. Like an Olympic, he's fought in the Olympics. He's fought, as you said, all them killers. Like people are really underestimating Ben Askren.
Yeah, and like I said, surprised. I don't think that Jake Paul is very skilled in boxing. So, whatever.
I just don't know why we didn't feed him someone like you. Give you to Jake Paul. Just obliterate him.
Well, we're the same size, so I'm not really sure that he's looking to fight somebody even remotely close to his size. That's why he's fighting, a welterweight who never cuts weight. I think Ben Askren probably weighs 175 pounds. He doesn't really cut much weight. Jake Paul is like 200 plus pounds. So whatever, man. Good on Ben Askren. I'm sure he's getting paid more for this fight than he ever did in the UFC. So, go get your money, make money. I'm pulling for Ben on this one.
You reckon if you step into a ring with Jake Paul, he's getting knocked out?
I'm knocking both brothers out. Period.
We would love to see that happen.
Yeah, easy money.
Jake and Logan together, I reckon you could take them both.
Same night if they want it.
So we see if we can get them to get their opinion on this, because
do your part, man. If you set that fight up, man, I'll shoot y'all some bread.
We will make that happen.
Try and make it happen as much. I just think it just shows Jake Paul's character, trying to fight someone smaller than him. I was just, I beat an MMA fighter, blah blah blah. It's like I'm calling out Connor. I just want Dana to get. I'd even give him
45.
Yeah, give him Amanda Nunes. I think even Amanda Nunes beats him.
Man, I don't know, man. I'm not going to go that far with it just because, like I said, he's a 200-pound man. He's going to have at least 50 pounds on Amanda Nunes. So I'm sure she'd give him a run for his money. But, man, there's a reason why women should compete with women and men should compete as men. But, I think that Jake Paul doesn't beat anybody in the middleweight division or up in the UFC.
Without a doubt, like Francis Ngannou and Jake Paul would probably be the most entertaining thing I've ever seen.
I'd take a jab.
That'd be a murder.
What's it like training with Triple C, Henry Cejudo? What's that like? Is he really like what he's like on camera?
I don't want to ruin his facade, but man, there's very few people I feel like that can do and coach. He competed at such a young age and was, won the Olympics at like 19 years old. And usually guys like that, they have a hard time being able to articulate, what it is that they're doing and why that they're doing. They're such athletes and their brain and body is just connected on such a level that, man, they're not thinking, they're just out there reacting and doing. But he can actually explain the why and the how. And the why, I think, is the most important part of fighting, because man, if you just watch the UFC, you see a lot of guys like trying to imitate people like McGregor and like Israel Adesanya. But why is Adesanya throwing all those feints? Why is he doing what it is that he's doing? And so people are just out there just imitating, and they don't know why they're doing what they're doing, and they're not successful at it. Especially maybe not in the UFC, but like on like the local scene. You see guys with the wide stance like McGregor and trying to move like he moves. But if you don't know why you're doing it, man, it's going to be really hard to be successful at it. So Cejudo, he does a really, really, really good job of explaining the why stand like this, the why do this, the why do that, and the when, So, yeah, I think that in the future, should he decide to be a coach, I think that he'd be an awesome coach.
Seeing him on Tough, he done a really good job on the Ultimate Fighter coaching, especially coaching against someone like Benavidez, who's so experienced. Benavidez been around the block 10 times over, and
Yeah.
that was a great series of the Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah, so Benavidez is a homie as well, and he's a pretty interesting guy.
I suppose we are coming up close on the hour mark. We'll have to cut this soon, but I have a question to leave you with. Where would you like to be closing out 2021, coming into 2022?
I want to fight like 3 times. I really don't necessarily count this first one because it was a no contest. So got another one lined up, and then maybe get 2 more in after this one. So we'll see what happens, but. And I got a really good feeling that however many fights I get, I'm going to go undefeated this year. Possibly crack that top 15 that I've been chasing for so long.
Hopefully we can end the next few years seeing middleweight champion Eryk Anders.
Yeah, that'd be great. We're well on the way.
Well, you've
been
unbelievable.
You've been an absolute pleasure, Eryk. Thank you.
Man, thank you guys for having me, man. Anytime.
Is there any sponsors or socials you'd like to plug?
Yeah, big shout out to Red Gear and NutriFX. They're a supplement company. Protein, BCAAs, pre-workouts. Things like this. Recovery is a big part of what it is that we do in MMA, and keep that moving. And Red Gear, the best gear company in the game. So without gear and recovery supplements, like it's my life would be much harder.
We'll have all the links to them websites and companies down below in the bio. All right, this has been the Middleweight podcast. Thanks, everybody.